Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Global Cybersecurity Forum annual meeting. Believe it or not, the closing ceremony. I'm John Defterios, if you haven't figured that out already.
And I'm Rebecca McLaughlin-Easton, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and John, here we are. It's been a fantastic 2 days here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and there have been so many fantastic contributions from you all and our esteemed speakers.
This is not a simple process. I'm going to ask you to give us your key takeaways, if you will.
You're asking for the headlines, John. Well, here they are. I had the great pleasure of hosting a panel discussion yesterday looking at some of the rapid innovations in cyberspace and what it really means for our global supply chains. This ultimately means something to all of us. It affects all of our daily lives. In that session, Paul Selby from the US Department of Energy had this to say. He said, it's about getting better at the basics. If we're going to have secure infrastructure, cybersecurity must be a consideration right from the beginning, not as a bolt-on. A simple but very important message.
Yeah, it certainly is. Thanks very much, Rebecca. In the fireside chat I had with Heidi Kribo-Redeker from the Council on Foreign Relations, we also spoke about the impact of cyberspace on economies, very importantly, critical infrastructure, and again, demonstrating the wider relevance for all of us. In fact, Heidi said she was particularly pleased to hear the statement made by His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the Prime Minister, which referenced the close links between cyberspace and the growth of economies. And she emphasized that every nation should be paying attention to this, as cyberspace effectively underpins the entire global economy. As we had said during some of our roundtables, it is a matter of trust, and it's how you rate a country in the future, a robustness of your cybersecurity system. And we kicked off the annual meeting talking about de-escalating geopolitical tensions to promote peace and prosperity with our expert panel featuring Dr. Mark Esper, Sir Jeremy Fleming, and His Excellency Jose Manuel Barroso, of course a regular here at the GCF. And His Excellency said something very profound in that session, and I'm quoting him here, competition is unavoidable between states, but cooperation is indispensable.
Good to remember. That's why it is so very important, ladies and gentlemen, to have these events that bring together people from right across the globe. Indeed, His Excellency Majid bin Mohammed Al-Mizyed, the governor of the National Cybersecurity Authority, mentioned that right at the start of our GCF forum yesterday. And it is evident that GCF is convening stakeholders from more than 120 countries, ladies and gentlemen. We've had representatives from governments, IGOs, NGOs, and the private sector of so many countries here with us over the past 2 days.
And the constant theme we've heard is the quality of the discussions, right? The quality of the talent on the table, honest brokering about solutions for the future. I think it's excellent. Not to mention all the other discussions that went on across the annual meeting in its entirety. In fact, I can't stand here and believe it's over already. Of course, you, Rebecca, hosting sessions in the podcast studio, which I know you were very busy because we couldn't get rehearsal time together. And we were delighted that our Tier 1 speakers and engagements from around the world took part in the GCF live studio interviews. We had participatory track sessions and more. It's hard to imagine the sheer scale of the event and all the activity that took place. It's interesting, because I was trying to attend other sessions, but I could only scratch the surface because there was so much on the agenda. So instead of us talking about it, why don't we get a nice recap with a really nice sizzle reel, as we call it in the business, a nice video. We'll be right back. Very nice, very nice. I think we have to commend the editorial team because I saw that last bit of the video.
Incredible.
It was children protection in cyberspace, right?
Absolutely.
And they had that from the last session, which was a fantastic discussion.
Absolutely, none of them to be missed. As you've just seen here in the sizzle reel, it has been an event full of energy and real enthusiasm to get things done, as we keep saying, advancing collective action being so important, as the theme suggests, right across geopolitical, socioeconomic, and human dimensions of cyberspace.
And we began in that spirit at the opening ceremony, and I'd just like to expand on some of the announcements we touched on and other over the 2 days overall. Firstly, we spoke about 2 GCF global initiatives instated by His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, beginning with the Child Protection in Cyberspace Initiative. And of course, I moderated the Child Protection in Cyberspace Global Summit, which I was just noting this morning, which brought together international stakeholders to identify pathways to collective action to ensure children are safe in cyberspace. It was an incredibly robust session, and we've talked already about cementing it and having the next one in 2 years. But all the ideas that came out were incredibly impressive.
Incredible foundation laid. At the beginning of the annual meeting, we announced GCF's project with one of the CPC Global Summit collaborators, UNICEF, to enhance child cyber safety. An MOU has now been signed, demonstrating that both partners are fully committed to this program, which will offer child helpline services in more than 30 countries and truly support millions of parents and caregivers, John.
Indeed. As well, the partnership between the GCF and DQ Institute to develop the world's most comprehensive index on child protection in cyberspace, again, with an MOU signed during the annual meeting cementing this partnership. We talked about these things likely to happen. They were actually delivered, which is nice.
Absolutely, good to see. In line with the second of GCF's global initiatives, Women Empowerment in Cybersecurity, this morning, I had the very great pleasure of hosting a breakfast meeting in which the Cyber Leadership Launchpad Mentoring Program was announced. It was officially launched, and I'm looking forward to hosting some thought-provoking conversations with senior executives early next year when the program really gets underway, John.
And we had Silvana Koch-Marin here for the first time, from the founder of the Women's Political Leaders. She said in a panel discussion yesterday how important peer-to-peer learning is for motivation and development, and of course, and this is a term I'd never heard before, reverse mentorship, such as women in mid-level positions mentoring male executives. As you know, in media, there's no gender specificity. I always work for women in broadcasting.
Absolutely, it's always inclusive. Mentorship is such an important part of GCF's commitment to empowering women and closing that all-important talent gap in cybersecurity. And the 2024 Cybersecurity Workforce Report was published under the GCF Knowledge Hub during the annual meeting over the past 2 days, and it laid bare just how significant that talent gap is.
Yeah, the shortage of global cybersecurity professionals is said to be around 2.8 million around the world, and addressing this is going to require coordinated efforts in areas such as recruitment and training and talent retention. Notably, only 24% of that workforce is made up of women. We need to mind the gap.
We can do better. As Her Excellency Dr. Hala Al-Tuarji, the President of Saudi Arabia's Human Rights Commission, said, having women playing a greater role in the sector is not a luxury. It is an economic and security necessity.
Good, absolutely. It's so important we have a workforce in place that can stand up to the challenges of the rapid developments, good and bad, in cyberspace, and harness opportunities. It comes back to what we said about the real-world impacts. We can't ignore what this potentially means for our infrastructure and our economies and development in the future.
So it's really great to see, as we've been highlighting, real progress taking place here at GCF's annual meeting, including the activation of GCF's Operational Technology Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, striving to strengthen cybersecurity in this domain, which is a foundation of much of our critical infrastructure, be it the power grids or our industrial supply chains.
We know a lot about supply chains after COVID-19 and how they were broken. And GCF has signed an agreement with the World Economic Forum to develop a new Center for Cyber Economics. This will address the economic dimensions of cybersecurity through research, development of evidence-based frameworks, and cross-sector collaboration with a view to enabling global prosperity, a key objective for the GCF and all of us here. And as Rebecca and I were talking about in our different sessions, it's good to be able to have concrete data in the future as well.
Yes, very much needed, and perhaps on its way. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a snippet of what has been achieved this year at the annual meeting for GCF. And of course, the hard work really starts now. But it sets us on a very clear path, John, with a strong foundation for collaboration and meaningful action.
And time flies very fast in the kingdom, as we know, but I'm looking forward to where we'll be in 12 months from now, let's put it that way, and how much more the GCF can achieve across the key activities as it matures as a leading think tank, my script says, but I'm going to say leading global think tank. That's better, right?
Absolutely, let's amplify it. And of course, none of this would be possible without who, John? The support of GCF, its partners, all of our collaborators, our valued and esteemed guests and speakers at the annual meeting. We thank you all for your involvement, and we truly encourage you to keep up to date with GCF beyond the annual meeting here in Riyadh. There is so much more work to do. There is so much on the horizon in the coming days, months, and years.
What a pleasure to work with you. Thanks very much for collaborating on the opening ceremony and the closing. Your Excellency, thanks again for the invitation. I'm sure Rebecca feels exactly the same. To the Deputy Governor, your entire team, I have to say it's gone up to a level I couldn't expect in such a short period of time. 4 years, and this global community is built.
It's incredible, and for me, it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you all. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.